Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to one and all. It's 5:31 and I think we should all start. Welcome everybody, सबका स्वागत है. Just wanted to give one instruction that for our Hindi speakers, जो हमारे हिंदी सुनने वाले साथी हैं, there's an interpretation button here. नीचे interpretation करके एक बटन है, आप उस पर क्लिक कर सकते हैं. अगर आपको हिंदी में सुनना है तो क्लिक करके प्लीज उसमें हिंदी आप टाइप करिए और आप हिंदी में हमारा कॉन्वर्जेशन सुन पाएंगे. ठीक है, तो सारा जो कॉन्वर्जेशन होने वाला है वो अंग्रेजी में होगा और जैसे ही होता है वो आप उसको हिंदी में सुन सकते हैं और कुछ नहीं समझ में आए तो आप चैट बॉक्स में लिख सकते हैं. हम कोशिश करेंगे जो हिंदी का लिंक है उसमें आपके सवालों का जवाब दिया जाए. So just to set some ground rules, welcome everybody. Whoever is there, if they can remain on mute and only unmute if required, because we only have some of our speakers who will be sharing about their journey, who will be talking about what they have done so far as youth ambassadors. We have our global audience, youth leaders with us. So we'll just start for today's session. Again, welcoming everybody. It's good afternoon, good morning to a lot of you who have joined us from different time zones. I am Aparna, representing the 100 Million Campaign India team, and I would like to invite you all for the evening where we're actually celebrating the resilience of youth who are here with us from 100 cities and more. We will soon have with us our inspiration, our motivation, respected Nobel Peace Kailash Satyarthi ji. He will join us in a moment. Till then, we will also have our youth leaders, activists, and ambassadors who will be sharing their journey. We are also joined by our passionate survivor leaders who have been relentlessly working and leading the campaign from many states. We have our motivated grassroots volunteers. We also have youth activists from across the world. Welcome, everybody. We have been joined by a lot of young people, urban young volunteers from different fields. We have campaigners with us who have run campaigns, who have campaigned for child rights from their respective cities and villages. We have educational institutions. We are also joined by student leaders who've been leading some of the largest student union bodies from across the globe. We have our supporters and our well-wishers. I am welcoming you all again to this evening where we are celebrating the resilience of our 100 million youth who have voiced for the rights for children. We are celebrating this success of obviously one marking the Freedom Week. You must have seen the Freedom Week promotion, Freedom Week conversations on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channels. This is also to celebrate and commemorate the 6 years of Nobel Peace Prize win by Satharthi Ji for children. So here we are all coming together to celebrate your stories, celebrate the work we have done so far with the 100 million campaign. And we are celebrating all of you here who have come from different cities, who have joined from different states and different continents. So welcome everybody, welcome you all. Just to also establish why we are doing this celebration, why we have invited you all, why are young people who are leading the campaign are with us today. There are 1.2 billion people who are aged between 15 to 20. We all know that India has become the youngest country, the youngest nation with the age bracket who's under the age of 30, which is also accounting to 16% of the global population. We have so many young people across the globe who are leading some of the amazing campaigns, youth activism, which is resulting into so many impactful changes, not just with their stakeholders but with different governments, which is also indicative of the immense potentiality and coming together as a youth energy. We have seen so many campaigns which have been led by young people, and we are here to raise up as a collective voice for children. So the 100 million campaign talks about that. And the youth ambassadors who we are celebrating today have joined us from 100 cities. Welcome, everybody. Hello. You are here from different cities. You have taken action. You have taken that first step. You have signed up to become the youth advocates from wherever you are. And you have been working towards generating awareness through public and youth engagement activities. So all the young people who have taken action have been influencing change in the social political discourse on trafficking in India. So special focus of the campaigns in the recent years has been trafficking, where young people have participated in dialogues, where they have participated in awareness drives by targeting an entire ecosystem for child protection. So we have been able to also collaborate, work with law enforcement agencies. We have been able to work with schools. We have been able to work with universities. We have been able to work with teachers, trade unions, wherein young people have actually led the objective, led the campaign, wherein they have designed it themselves and have mobilized many, many young people and different groups. The actions that have been taken by young people has also created a movement within the country and across the globe. And in India specifically, in the last 1.5, 2 years, we've been demanding for free and compulsory education till the age of 18. We did many campaigns, many national consultations, many meetings. And in 2019, we organized a girls' march to school campaign where over 1 lakh young people, 1 lakh youth marched towards school demanding for free and compulsory education. We all know under RTE, Right to Education Act, we have free and compulsory education till the age of 14, but we all know the grave reality that how many young people are able to go to school. So this demand has been one of the very prominent demands which have been shared and raised by many, many young people with us who have campaigned throughout last 1.5, 2 years. Young people in India who have taken action have been also been able to strengthen the village level ecosystem. A lot of our young people are not just urban volunteers. We also have rural volunteers. हमारे साथ में बहुत सारे युवा साथी बहुत सारे गांव से भी हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं. आपको मैं फिर से रिमाइंड कराना चाहती हूँ कि अगर आप interpretation में हिंदी option select कर लें, so you can आप जो है उसको हिंदी में भी सुन सकते हैं. So I'm trying to say that, you know, how young people from urban places, from rural areas have strengthened the village level ecosystem also by taking action on prevention and protection of children, prevention and protection of children by engaging our stakeholders. So a lot of the young people who have campaigned with us so far have engaged directly with either their parliamentarians or policymakers, government officers, law enforcement agencies, village councils, panchayats, gram panchayats, civil society organizations that have been really working on child rights. We have engaged with them directly. We've also involved educational institutions who have invited Sir for many webinars and conferences where Sir have motivated many young people. Young people have actually gone back really inspired and have taken action, be it by identifying child labor or reporting child labor. And the youth, the groups from different cities have relentlessly contributed towards breaking the nexus of traffickers. There have been many times when young people have come up to share information about traffickers. If they have seen young people, children specifically, getting trafficked from area, they have reported back. Many a times they have shared the Bachpan Bachao Andolan's complaint cell number as well. A lot of the rural youth specifically have raised that, and many urban youth volunteers have supported our rural youth volunteers who are working at the source area of trafficking. So many a times young people who are in colleges have come to intern with us, have come to volunteer with us. They have been really supporting our rural youth who are working in the source area where children are trafficked from. Our youth ambassadors from India who are present here with us have showcased commitment, resilience, innovation, and compassion to build and contribute to a society which can be free, safe, and educated for children. And that's the 100 million campaign we talk about. That's the 100 million initiative that was taken, launched in 2016, made possible by our inspirational work and leadership of Nobel Peace Laureate Kailash Ji, who has been working relentlessly to rescue and rehabilitate children from the shackles of slavery. So the campaign was initiated, the campaign got launched so that young people can start youth activism, people can take up action from wherever they are. I am also joined by our speakers right now. I have Amar Lal with me, who himself is a child labor survivor. He is the 100 million campaign trustee. He's a child rights lawyer at the moment, and he will give the welcome address. He will share about his journey. He will share about the campaign, and he will also talk about what he has been doing with the Global 100 Million Secretariat, the Global 100 Million Group. I would like to invite Amar Lal right now.
Aparna.
Amar Lal.
Hello and welcome you all. My name is Amar Lal and I'm a lawyer and child rights activist. I'm also a trustee of 100 Million Campaign and youth representative. I'm a part of 100 Million Campaign since 2016. I have been part of many campaigns with Mr. Kailash Satyarthi ji, like child trafficking, Bharat Yatra, Education March, and others. I also represented myself as a young kids and youth leaders in several international programs and events and summit. I was also the national president of Children Assembly in 2010. The 100 Million campaign is called to action for a world where all young people are free, safe, and educated. We support young people to mobilize and end violence against children, eradicate child labor, and ensure education, breaking the cycle of illiteracy, poverty, and violence for good. Inspired by the strength and impact of former child slaves who have now become successful activists. 100 Million campaign supports and empowers youth mobilization and aims to increase global compassion and understanding. We believe this will create a world where all young people are safe and learning in schools, not learning to survive. Our network also includes representative youth organization led by democratically elected youth activists, teachers, union, nationally and internationally, and non-governmental organization working together to seek multidimensional to the multiple deprivation faced by marginalized children. These organizations lend their support to 100 million campaign by mobilizing their networks to campaign for the rights of excluded children, running solidarity actions, and advocating in national, regional, and globally. Today, we are celebrating what we have achieved in last few years through this 100 million campaign, where we made possible to change in the youth from across the world. Each of you, the youths, are the reason for this change. I hope we will achieve what we have dreamed through this campaign when we started and when we launched 100 million campaign. Every action is so important for change in this world. Your voice is so important for all those children who are most marginalized. Guys, let's come together and let's take action and let's change the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amarlal, for such an inspirational welcome address. We all have been really, really inspired by your work. We all know that how you have been leading some of the amazing, amazing initiatives, campaigns. You have worked with Kailash on many of the different marches and rallies that have taken place, especially on education, Shiksha Yatra, Global March, Shiksha Yatra, and recently the March for Free and Safe educated childhood. So we have been really, really inspired by your action and many actions that our survival leaders have taken in the recent past. I can quote many, many examples who have been rescued from factories, who've been rescued from different places, and then went on to study in Balashram and are now professionals. Like Amarlal is a lawyer. We have young people who are musicians. We have young people who've come back again to Balashram and are working as teachers. So it's a great inspirational journey that we have experienced so far. We have seen, especially, and we have our survival leaders like Arbin, who was rescued from Nepal and is leading the anti-child trafficking campaign from Bihar. So he's one of the youth activists who've been actually managing close to 50 survival leaders plus grassroots activists. So there is nothing as inspirational as to listen to Amarlal and our survival leaders whenever they speak, wherever they speak, in any platform they speak. It always at least gives me goosebumps. It always inspires me to really work more, understand how we as young people, how young people who are present with us from different cities can take action, can lead action from wherever they are. We all know, we all say that, no child should be born into danger. No child should be born to work. Kailashji, in every speech, every address, he always says that, children should be given their rights. They should be free. They should be safe wherever they are. They should go to school. They should not be denied the right to education. The basic fundamental right to education should not be denied. And every opportunity that you have got, that we have got, to dream the main dream that we dream, that we can be in school, we can do whatever we want. They should also have equal opportunity to fulfill their dreams. But however, we all know the data says that there are still more than 100 million children who are deprived of dignity, who are deprived of their childhood, who are deprived of their dream, who are deprived of their potential, and enduring multitude of conditions which make them most marginalized children in the world. And we keep reading news, we keep seeing all the coverages that come from our vicinity, from our constituency, from our villages, that how every single day so many children are experiencing some or the other kind of violence. They are trafficked, they are pushed into slavery, they are working because families cannot support them. So this is the situation that we see every day, and we pity their situation. But we have young people like you who have signed up, who have pledged to take action. And I hear stories till now. For example, if a young person who campaigned with us in 2019 comes back to us and tells that, we have seen children working in this factory, we have seen children working in tea stalls, we want to complain, we want to ensure that children are not working there anymore. We want to see children who are there on the streets should be in school, not on the streets. What can we do? Tell us, how can we campaign? Tell us what we can design so that our parents, our group, our family, our community is actually going out and taking that action. And we are not ignoring, we are not becoming ignorant, and we are not telling that, oh, this is something that we can't do, this is not in our hands, law enforcement agencies will take care of it, police will take care of it. But that one little action where you're identifying a child labor and ensuring that you're reporting to the right department, right organization, right people, so that the child can actually experience safety, experience freedom. So there are many, many stories. Obviously, we have been able to experience, we have been able to share through our campaigns. And this is something that the 100 million campaign has been able to show the impact of the actions that have been taken by young people. The campaign, as Amarlal also shared, now completes 4 years. It was launched in 2016 December, and since then we have been able to mobilize hundreds and lakhs of people who have come, who have pledged that they will ensure that they will take action. The campaign has been inspired by many powerful voices of young activists around the world who are here with us in this event, in this celebration. We are celebrating their voices, we are celebrating their action, who have been leading the change in their villages, in their communities, wherever they are. They have been able to raise the voice for the rights of children and their peers, for freedom, safety, and education. I just wanted to quickly share a little presentation on the India journey. Then we will go on to listen to our India Youth Ambassadors who are here with us, who will share and talk about the action that they have taken. A little glimpse of, like, what India has been able to do after the launch. I'll just share my screen. We just have 2, 3 slides that will talk about what we have done so far in India. So since the campaign was launched in 2016, we all know it got launched from Rashtrapati Bhavan by many peace laureates, the former president of India, Dr. Pranab Mukherjee, Holy Dalai Lama ji, and other laureates who were there, and 5,000, more than 5,000 school children who came together and were there present, raising slogans, raising their voices for a free, safe, and educated childhood. Just after the campaign was launched, young people also supported in organizing laureates and leaders in 2016. Just after that, Bharat Yatra, the longest march demanding safety for children who've been sexually abused, where 8 lakh marchers joined the campaign, joined Sir's call to put an end to child sexual abuse. And so many young people from different villages, constituencies, they marched from south to north, east to west, and they were there demanding safety for children. We also were able to record a Guinness World Record, where Sir gave a class, and then we were able to break that record, create that record during the Bharat Yatra campaign. 2018, we all know, you must have all seen Prize of Free Film. It's a documentary film that was launched in 2018, which talks about Sir's journey, which talks about Bachpan Bachao Andolan's journey, which talks about how Satyarthi ji has been able to rescue, rehabilitate children. It talks about how young people have been able to rehabilitate. They have then gone ahead to become professionals. And it also talks about the 100 million campaign that was launched, where youth can directly take action. A lot of the young people who were able to see the film, who did the screening in their schools, did the screening in their colleges, then wrote letters to Mr. Satyarthi, They showed that, how they can take action, how they will ensure that they will be the voice of young people. And they wrote letters to sir, and sir so many times said that, we replied to many of the children who came to meet sir directly, who were there with us, and ensured that, their action will be recognized. Their action will also speak volume for the work that not just the movement has done, but also young children, the survival leaders, have done. So 2016-18 was full of events, full of marches, where young people were there on streets demanding freedom, safety, and education for children. Then in 2019, again, lots of campaigns were designed, especially with young people. They were leading the campaign. We were doing a campaign in Bal Mitra Kumbh, the Kumbh Mela 2019. It's a largest conglomeration. It's a religious coming together of crores and crores of people. Our youth volunteers, our barefoot volunteers were there. They reunited many, many children with their families. Then we did Rape Free India campaign, where young people, our survival leaders, went on to take pledges from the candidates who were fighting for the election. They were there. They went and took the pledge that, how parliamentarians, how the candidates who are fighting for the election will ensure that they will create a rape-free India. What will they do when they get elected? Then in 2019, just after Rape Free India, we organized a Girls' March to School, where I've mentioned many a times in the introduction also, how young people, 1 lakh young people, marched towards the school, demanding for free and compulsory education. We did a great mobilization. All the teams, all the Satyarthi movement, colleagues, our friends, young people from different organizations, different educational institutions came together to organize this, raise a demand. And just after that, this year, 2020, we were able to also organize Justice for Every Child. We've been really signing up young people who are interested, who come for different events, who've been part of many film screenings, have come to also pledge for Justice for Every Child, where they've been going back to their parliamentarians, decision makers, to ensure that every child in their village, in their constituency, is getting justice. This is again a snapshot of all the little events, campaigns, and film screenings that we did. Child Friendly Kum I've already shared. After the events, after we organized many of the events, we formed 100 million groups in different schools, in different colleges. They have taken action. They have been ensuring that how they can create child-friendly society, they can create child-friendly environment, and raise the issue of child trafficking and violence against children. So young people not just attended events, but after the events, they have gone back to take action. They still report back. They are very aware. They're very assertive. They're very alert. And whenever it is required, they reach out to us. They reach out to the organizations who are associated with us, and always raise complaints. We've been doing many awareness sessions in educational institutions. That's been one of the core engagements with urban youth. We have gone out to collaborate with many educational institutions, and we have many young people from different universities who have joined us today, who are listening to us, who have also come up, signed up, and have ensured that they will be the voices. They will be the voices of young people and children who are marginalized. This is it. So this is the India journey in a nutshell. In the 4 years that we have done, we've been able to see how through awareness events, how through dialogues, we've been able to see young people taking action, and many young people are already there with us, smiling and they're sharing about their journey with us. I would now like to invite Janvi. Janvi is there. I can see Nabarun is there, and Devraj. So Janvi is a youth ambassador from Delhi, and I would like her to now unmute herself and share about her how she became the youth ambassador, and what is that one action she has taken, which has obviously inspired not just her community, her family, her peers, and she's been one of the active working members who was very much part of the Justice for Every Child campaign. She was leading the working group of Justice for Every Child. Janvi, I'll give you just 2 minutes if you can quickly share about yourself and the journey that you've taken.
Thank you, Aparna. Good evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Janvi Sharma, and I am a 100 million youth ambassador. I reside in Ghaziabad and I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's in political science from Hindu College, University of Delhi. Maternal and child well-being has always been a cause very close to my heart, but I couldn't fathom the complexities and the nuances that wrapped around this issue of child labor. I was inspired to join the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation after the screening of the documentary Price of Free in my college last year. As an intern, I was honored to get the opportunity to lead the working group for Justice for Every Child campaign, where after days of hard work and planning, we could mobilize over 100 youth-led organizations all over the world to pledge for raising the cause of children's vulnerability during the COVID-19 induced lockdown. These groups then promoted the following key demands that we had proposed. Firstly, we demanded provision of quality and accessible education to each child. In addition to that, we agreed that an assessment of the learning loss of children during COVID-19 must be conducted and strategies to fill those gaps must be found. In addition to that, we also demanded establishment of village level child protection committees, which would be functional to identify the traffickers transporting the children. Lastly, we pushed for regular maintenance of the village migration registers so that movement of children could be monitored. We were determined to highlight this issue on the global front at the 75th anniversary of the United Nations General Assembly in September this year. And we sought to involve the local policymakers in India so that they could ensure that no child in their constituency is working amidst the pandemic. By participating in the campaign and advocating for child rights, I got exposed to the harsh realities that are facing the country's children now. As I was researching from the comfort of my home about the instances of child exploitation and harassment, I came across a story of rescued child laborers in Noida, which was a few kilometers from my house. Determined to somehow contribute, I came, with the help of my supervisors at KSCF, I could collate and impart the knowledge that could prevent child labor in my residential area and within my community. I also wrote articles and opinion pieces on the impact of COVID-19 on the access of education to children and the impact of the withdrawn labor laws on migrant workers and their families. In this process, I realized that fighting exploitation and harassment against children is definitely an uphill battle. But at the same time, I also know that every child in this world deserves a well-rounded education, a free and safe environment, happiness, and a real chance to actualize their potential. Thus, to this effect, we as a community, as a nation, have to promise not to rest until each and every child in this world, until we can guarantee them a good life. Thank you.
ग्रेट, थैंक यू जानवी सो मच. आई होप हमारा जो इंटरप्रिटेशन है दैट्स हैपनिंग, और जो लोग हमारे साथी अलग अलग जगह से जुड़े हैं वो इंटरप्रिटेशन में हिंदी के माध्यम से सुन पा रहे हैं. और बहुत सारे चैट्स मैं देख रही हूँ जहाँ पे मेंशन है कि वो नहीं सुन पा रहे, तो आप इंटरप्रिटेशन में हिंदी में इसको सुन सकते हैं. धीरेन्द्र जी वहाँ पे आपको इंटरप्रिटेशन कर रहे हैं. सो इफ एनीबडी सीज दैट यू नो यू आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड, इफ एनीबडी कैन टेल देम दैट यू नो इंटरप्रिटेशन इज हैपनिंग हियर एंड दे कैन गो टू द हिंदी लिंक. We are at 6 o'clock right now. We were supposed to end this by 6. All the speakers' conversation and list. Quickly, Nabarun, if you can come and share quickly about your journey. Just take 1.5 minutes and then quickly share. We will then move next to the speaker, Devraj, after Nabarun.
Thank you, Aparna. Good evening, everyone. I am Nabarun from the city of Dhanbad, in the final year of my master's from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Hyderabad. Since the last 1 year, I have been a 100 million volunteer, and I would briefly like to share my journey as a youth activist. After joining this campaign, one harsh reality that I came to know about was the high incidence of child labor in the mica mines of Kodarma and Giridih in Jharkhand. I was astonished to learn that daily products like cosmetics and paints, which contain mica, may have had to go through a 10-year-old school education deprived child in the manufacturing supply. I was earlier completely oblivious to such a thing. Since then, I have been active in raising awareness about child labor in mica supply chain. And to this end, I am also conducting an academic research under my institute to document the stories of rescued child laborers in the mica mine. As a result of this awareness, people around me in my college and family are now aware about the need to buy ethical mica products like cosmetics and take extra steps to source it from only those companies which have committed to clean supply chain. Further, as an active member of the working group of Justice for Every Child campaign, we had been at the forefront to capture survival stories of former child laborers from Bihar. These stories have helped in mobilizing youth across the country to be a part of the movement and take a strong stance against child labor menace in this country and across the world to create a child-friendly world for every single child. Thank you.
थैंक्स नबरुन. देवराज, अगर आप ऑनलाइन हैं तो आप क्विकली शेयर कर सकते हैं. देवराज विल बी स्पीकिंग इन हिंदी एंड आई विल ट्राई एंड ट्रांसलेट दैट इन इंग्लिश. आप जल्दी से अपनी बात रखिए, है ना.
नमस्कार सभी को. मेरा नाम देवराज भारती, मैं मधेपुरा का निवासी हूँ. 100 मिलियन 400 मिलियन स्वयं सेवक हूँ. वर्तमान में कोरोना महामारी के समय में 10 जिला में बाल मजदूर, ट्रैफिकर, बाल विवाह ज्यादा प्रभावित है. मुक्ति कारवा जन जागरूकता अभियान में जुड़कर मैंने अलग अलग गांव में लोगों को पर्चा पोस्टर के माध्यम से यह संदेश दिया कि छोटे बच्चों से बाल मजदूरी, बाल विवाह, चाइल्ड ट्रैफिकर नहीं करवाया जाए. अगर इस तरह का आसपास में कहीं दिखे तो हमारे चाइल्ड हेल्पलाइन नंबर 1098 पर कॉल कर शिकायत का जानकारी दे. और सरकारी स्कीम के बारे में भी बताया. परवरिश फॉर के माध्यम से मैं अपने गांव में 12 बच्चे को लाभ दिलाए. मधेपुरा से 4 बच्चों को रेस्क्यू भी करवाए और ढेर सारा कंप्लेन भी दिए. ग्राम पंचायत के मुखिया एवं उप मुखिया, सरपंच, सभी वार्ड प्रमुख को इकट्ठा करके एक मीटिंग का आयोजन करते हैं. विलेज माइग्रेशन रजिस्टर बनवाते हैं. आपके गांव से कितने बच्चे बाहर कंप्लाइन करते हैं. इस अभियान के तहत 100 मिलियन युवा हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. रोजगार और बेरोजगार युवाओं एवं साथियों सभी से कहना है कि बच्चे देश का भविष्य है. इसे बचपन से अच्छी शिक्षा प्रदान किया जा सके ताकि देश में प्रगति का भागीदारी बन सके. यही बदलाव है. इतना ही कहकर मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देता हूँ. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Devraj. Devraj is a rural youth volunteer, and he has been engaged in the anti-child trafficking campaign. He has been able to mobilize the village councils, the group, the men's group, the women's group, the leaders in his village, and is identifying children and is identifying traffickers. He's been able to do this through distribution of parchas, through door-to-door campaigning. He has been reporting child labor, trafficking. The idea of organizing all of this is to see that the village is aware, the village is ensuring that, you know, parents are not sending their children and are not getting trapped into the traffickers conversation about like how they will ensure employment to their children. So he's been able to get together all the village councils together and is like, you know, with these little initiatives, little conversations, little he is raising awareness around the child labor, child rights in his village. They have been able to foil many child marriages. They've been reporting child marriage during this COVID-19 pandemic as well. And any cases of child sexual abuse, they've been sharing, and they've been also promoting the BBA's complaint cell number. So anybody who thinks that, you know, they want to make a complaint, they do that. And he's also somebody who's an active youth in his village, who's trying to, like, you know, create these create this intelligence network and talking to people. So Devraj is one of our rural youth volunteers who've taken that action, who's shown the real action on ground, and in this pandemic also is going out of his way to engage many of the stakeholders from his community, from his villages. Thank you, Devraj. Thank you so much. We are actually running late behind the schedule. And I would now like to invite Owen, who's the executive director of the 100 million campaign. Along with him, he will obviously share about 100 million campaign activities, what we have been doing with student bodies, student groups, young people across the globe, and what we have been able to do to protect and ensure freedom and safety for marginalized children, how young people have taken action globally, has challenged the governments, and have run many campaigns. Owen, over to you, and you can take 5-10 minutes for the presentation. Then we will also have two of our global speakers, youth activists, who will be sharing their journey. Owen.
Thank you so much, Aparna. And it's a real pleasure to join you today. And I'm going to try and quickly, I've been asked to try and quickly share what has happened globally since the campaign started in India. And I'm pleased that I'm going after the colleagues in India, because that is the main focus we need to have. But when former child laborers came together with Kailashji and others to start the campaign, it has inspired a chain reaction of events around the world. And I've been asked, and I've been working over the last few years to try and take the energy and the vision that came from India out to other partners. And so this is a summary of how that work has gone. Now, what we have achieved together. Okay, so 2017, the campaign started in earnest, even though it only kicked off in December 2016. Within 10 months, we were able to see launches on every continent, and we organized some events all around the world. In particular, we saw the first global mobilization, and over 1,000 local, national political representatives met with young people in schools and communities across 10 countries. In Sweden, we saw 20% of politicians and 3 government ministers meeting with students. So almost a fifth of their parliament met with students to hear their demands on the action on the right to education. And the very next day, the government announced, citing this campaign, that they'd increase their support to the Global Partnership for Education by over 30%, which meant over $200 million for girls' education in Africa. In Peru, we saw the 100 Million National Youth Committee invited to join the government's National Steering Committee for the prevention and eradication of child labor within the first 3 months of them being formed. In Brazil, we saw municipal councils of education from every state in Brazil adopt the 100 Million Campaign pledge to commit to end marginalization. Then in 2018, the campaign grew still further, and we saw a number of key actions. We saw events marked around the launch of the film, The Price of Free, which focused on child labor. And I know many people on this event will have seen that film. If you haven't, I recommend it. But it inspired people not only in India, it inspired people around the world. And we organized a series of films in 49 different countries. We saw 75 national level politicians join in with those screenings and discuss and meet with activists from countries like Chile, the US, Japan, the UK, and Germany. We began a working relationship with the representative youth organizations. So the aim from the beginning of the campaign, that partnership of more marginalized and more privileged young people coming together in India, was to try and support the same process and approach the same people internationally. And we started with the All Africa Students Union and the organizing Bureau of School Student Unions of BESU, who we'll hear from in a minute. And we went to events and shared this campaign that had started in India to see if they would be interested in working together on it. And we also were able to launch a number of new national campaigns, building on the success of the first 10, including in 100 Million Germany, where they quickly were able to gain agreement from parliamentarians to take action on the child labor in German supply chains. And that commitment from a few parliamentarians translated over the next year into some even wider change. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So then on to 2019, where we saw the first sort of coordinated action. between the youth movements of the world. And in the 100 million global youth meeting in Ghana, we were able to bring together the leaders from those representative youth organizations, together with groups representing marginalized young people and survivors of child labor. And that forum, really led to a big change in how 100 million ultimately has been coordinated, but also into the formation of the Global Student Forum. It sort of helped facilitate that, which we're very proud of. Then the 100 Million campaign supported an international and representative youth delegation to the UN General Assembly. And it launched the Every Child, Every Community report and the Every Child Charter, which has at its essence support for local action. And I'll come to that in a minute. But there was also those coordinated rallies you saw on the previous slide. Youth activists leading a collective global action to ask their decision makers this question: when will every child have justice? And we saw thousands of young people take to the streets and holding rallies for every child across 30 countries. Now, I'm not going to talk about India, but I just want to assure you that's because this event is in India, and we've just heard from campaigners directly, which is how it should be done. But when sharing the success globally, I do certainly share the amazing achievements and impact that has happened in India and the fantastic marches that you've had.
Great, Owen.
Now, one more thing I want to mention is just the new model that we adopted in the campaign. So the approach was to bring together youth organizations, but it was to support local leadership. So we believe that the decision makers, Kailash has asked us to work on, that the decision makers who can achieve a change for any one individual child are the people who live near to that child. It's the local police chief who could enforce the law, or the local school who could ensure that child is enrolled, or the people running different programs, and let's just midday meal, and ensuring access to the most marginalized. So the whole framing of the campaign is around the local level. And I'm sharing some of the global highlights, but really the work that you are doing in your cities, in your communities, in your districts is the crucial change that will lead to this realization of every child having justice. And I want to thank everyone for that. We also were trying to bring and keep building the capacity of youth organizations, trying to connect the youth organizations directly with the global leadership and transition from a time when we had a foundation to a time when actually the whole campaign would be led by trustees and that are youth trustees. And that transition has now happened. So the campaign is no longer being something that is being coordinated through the foundation, but is actually passing directly to the youth organizations to direct and take it forward to over the coming years. Now, we turn to 2020, and again, very briefly because of time, to highlight a few key points from this year. We'll hear about more in a moment, but during the COVID pandemic, we've seen an amazing mobilization between youth organizations around this justice for every child. We saw the campaign quadruple in size, grow again, with more grassroots activists and national youth and student leaders participating. We also saw other events around the UN General Assembly, and just last month, an alternative event around the G20 summit. We've seen a huge increase in the activities at the national level and the impact at the national level is happening, bringing together more groups. The coalition in Kenya now is 20 strong, influencing, writing to the Prime Minister, engaging decision makers. And then we also worked with the laureates and leaders for children. The fair share idea that the youth leaders devised was taken to the laureates and leaders who backed it wholeheartedly, and then organized an amazing summit in September and a report really making the case to decision makers. And that was shared with all UN missions. Then, as I said, this new trustee board is formulated. And now is the moment that we would pass
we will have to stop the presentation here because we have Sir with us.
Oh,
and if
okay.
you can take Alex and Eric later, because Sir is here. Sir would want to address our young people who are smiling and who are really have been waiting to hear the speech of Sir, who really has been an inspiration to all of us. And welcome, Sir. Good evening. We are here with the 100 million youth ambassadors from 100 cities and our youth activists and leaders from global union bodies and different youth activists from across the globe. We are also joined by our urban youth, young people, especially from universities, educational institutions. We have survival leaders, we have rural youth who have come to listen to serve, who has come to listen to the actions that have been taken by youth ambassadors, all the actions delivered by the communities of activists, youth representative organizations, civil society organizations who are passionately doing what they really feel for standing up and voicing for rights of children. We have Sir with us. He needs no introduction. He is the inspiration, and in under his leadership, at least young people like us have learned so much about how do we campaign, how do we mobilize, and how do we really reach out to young people who are passionate. How do we engage them to become a passionate and a compassionate youth who is standing up for the rights of children? Mr. Satyarthi is internationally acclaimed child rights activist who has been tirelessly working for children's rights for 4 decades now. His intervention are spread across 140 countries. We've been reading about him. There are many, many articles and actions in the campaign that many impactful policy changes. Sir has been taking up different initiatives to protect children from slavery, trafficking, forced labor, sexual abuse. Sir has been also instrumental in bringing the issues of children in the global and national agendas, besides leading the worldwide movements against child exploitation. Sir has really, given us many examples of how we can really mobilize and lead campaigns by engaging our stakeholders. I would like to welcome Sir here to address our young people who have joined us, young people from 100 cities and more who have seen your film, who have seen Price of Free and many motivational speeches. They are here to listen to you, sir. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you so much, Aparna Raviji. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for the great news and the great event and the great celebration, and that is your marriage, your wedding. So congratulations for that. But I'm saying it because I wanted a favor from you. You have already announced my name. But before that, you have said that there are some young people who were supposed to speak, but because I have come, so they would be speaking later. वो बाद में बोलेंगे, और चूंकि मैं आ गया हूँ. Let me tell you that the people of my age and the people of perhaps your age, you're already married now, and the people like politicians, leaders, faith leaders, all those people, business houses, leaders, they can wait. But our children cannot wait. Our young people cannot wait. So children first, young people first. I can wait here, and I wanted to listen to the youth first, and then I can speak. I will speak. I'm sorry to say.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. This is how you have always told us, how create platforms for young people where they can raise their voice. We just heard our Indian youth ambassadors who shared their journey. We have Eric and Alex who wanted to share about Fair Share and what they have been doing, especially in times of COVID. Alex, if you can go quickly, and Eric. Alex?
Yes. Thank you so much. Really. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Alex, a board member of the Organizing Bureau of European School Student Unions, one of the trustee organizations of the Global 100 Million Campaign, and a student activist from Austria. So kind regards from here, and thank you for the invitation and all those inspirational words. I feel very honored to be alongside so many Indian youth activists today. I see over 200 people just in the call, I feel so honored, and I will share a little bit about the demands we have made together during COVID-19, calling for justice for every child in a fair share. Because COVID-19 doesn't discriminate, but our system does, and no child should be left behind, but exactly that is the case now. Our organization, OBESU, came together with the All African Student Union, Commonwealth Students Association, European Student Union, and Education International to demand the world's most vulnerable children to receive special protection and support during the pandemic. Over 50 youth-led organizations from across the world representing over 1 billion young people soon joined our call to action, asking their governments to work together and allocate just 20% of the initial global COVID-19 response funds to the 20% of children living on $2 or less a day. This investment could have been transformational for child and youth rights, helped to ensure education for all, and could have saved over 70 million lives in the next 10 years. But yet, in 2020, world leaders failed to demonstrate any true sense of global compassion, responsibility, or urgency. Shockingly, a report launched in September by the Dorothées and Leaders for Children platforms exposed how out of $8 trillion, just 0.13% have been dedicated to multilateral appeals. This is unfair, immoral, and unjust. We have heard over and over again that we're running out of funds to continue helping the marginalized members in our countries, but we do not seem to find a shortage of funds when it comes to bailing out big multinational companies. As a student activist, I ask, how is the profit of airline industry and increasing the wealth of billionaires more important than protecting the education of millions and preventing an increase in child labor? Like how? How humanity responds collectively to the crisis today will determine the future that we build for our children and the future of our people and our planet. We have made our demands loudly this year in our communities, at the UN, at the G20, coming together as students and young people, including survival leaders from the Mukti Caravan Initiative, Voice for Justice. We are refusing to give up and invite you all here to raise your voice and act with us, mobilize in your community and join the global movement, because together we are louder, together we are stronger. And I know my words here in this panel are just water drops in the sea, but it's the actions that are needed so urgently. So all the youth, all the students of the world unite, because good quality, free, inclusive education is a key change maker, because nothing about us without us. Thank you for the
Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing your journey and the actions that you've taken as part of the 100 million group. We now have Eric with us, who can share about, as part of the ASHWA, he's from Uganda, and what has he done along with his group. Eric?
Hello, thank you very much, Apana, and it's a pleasure to join all of you today. Greetings from Uganda. My name is Eric Omondi, and I'm a youth activist here in Uganda. I'm very, very happy to join fellow activists in India and all over the world in celebrating the resilience that we've all put in. Colleagues, as we're all aware, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected everyone globally. Our societies are currently learning to live with the realities as a result of the pandemic, following the mandatory lockdowns and system shutdowns in our countries and communities all over. In my community here in Uganda, the pandemic has not only increased the socioeconomic burden, but left many people, including children and youth, already facing quite many challenges. For many children and youth who are not able to access timely and quality healthcare, some have not been able to access any learning materials during this lockdown. We've not left them. We've continued to reach out to the decision makers and speak out for these marginalized groups of children. And we are asking our other fellow youth activists to join our efforts and collectively come out to strongly call on our leaders to act and support, rebuild the lost hope amongst our community members. We won't sit back as marginalized children and youth are facing the hardest challenges following the pandemic. On this day, ladies and gentlemen, I call upon all of us not to give up on the foundation We've already heard from all the activists in India and my colleagues all over the world that we've laid the foundation. We've made a statement. I'm asking all of us not to give up on what we've already started, but rather continue with the small steps until we have the desired change come. The time to act is now. As we celebrate the successes and the impact that we've made so far, let's stand up every day for the rights, freedom, safety, education of the most vulnerable children. We are stronger together, and we will definitely get the change that we desire for. Thank you very much, Apana.
Thank you so much, Eric. You have echoed the voice of many, many young people from India who are here with us from different cities. They have also been raising the voice for justice for every child. They have been raising their voices and have just shared. Sir is with us. Sir, we've been hearing a lot of the youth voices who have taken action, who've made sure that how with their action, they are ensuring protection of children in their villages, in their cities. So this is a celebration and the coming together and resilience of young people who have taken inspiration from you to lead that change from their cities. So we are really eager to listen to you.
Thank you once again. And thanks to all the young colleagues for giving me this opportunity. We have three options when we see a battle is on, or a war is on, or any crisis is there. One is that we keep on praising those who are fighting it out, those who are sacrificing themselves, and those who are winning. The second option is that we criticize, we curse, we feel about those who are losing or those who are not doing well. Either we clap or we curse. But the third option, which is left only for young people, dear friends like yourself, perhaps no one else can do what you can do. You cannot simply watch the match. You cannot simply be an spectator of the ongoing fight against any evil. You have to be the leader. Those who clap and criticize sitting on the rings, they do not make the history. They can write the history, but they cannot make the history. History is always made by those young people who have courage, who have guts, who dare to jump inside the ring without worrying so much about the victory or losing the battle. Victory and defeats will come, but history would be written, and that is possible only through you. We all are talking about the ongoing crisis. And I always say that this crisis is not simply health crisis or economic crisis. This is the crisis of justice and morality. This is the crisis of civilization. Because this is going to affect the entire generation and generations to come. If we act as change makers, if we take the initiative, if we act compassionately, coordinatedly, and with a sense of urgency, and if the power is driven from the young people, then the history would be different, the future would be different. Otherwise, we fear to lose the entire generation and thereafter all the generations to come. If half of the world's children are not in school today, if 1 out of 10 children are forced to work as child laborers today, If millions of children in the world are facing sexual abuses, if they are being used in child porns and for child prostitution and other kind of sexual abuses, if they are pushed into wars and insurgencies, if they are trafficked and bought and sold like animals, then who else will speak if not you? Who else will act if not you? Whom are you waiting for? No change, positive change in the history was possible without the power of young people. I always call for globalization of compassion, but I strongly believe and say now, globalization of compassion by globalization of youth power. We have to build a strong worldwide movement. And that was the idea, that was the philosophy, that was the dream behind launching this 100 million campaign. Earlier we called it 100 million for 100 million. The idea is that on one hand, 100 million or even more young people like you, आप जैसे बहुत सारे नौजवान कुछ कर गुजरने की तमन्ना में जी रहे हैं, वो एक रास्ता तलाश रहे हैं, वो एक मंजिल तलाश रहे हैं कि दुनिया को बेहतर बना सके, वो एक प्लेटफॉर्म तलाश रहे हैं, वो एक तरीका तलाश रहे हैं जहां वो ये विश्वास कर सकें कि ये जो पारंपरिक राजनीति है, ये जो पारंपरिक धार्मिक व्यवस्था है, ये जो पारंपरिक व्यापारिक व्यवस्था है, जो पारंपरिक सामाजिक व्यवस्था है, ये हमारे नौजवानों के लिए न्यायपूर्ण नहीं है। वो जानते हैं इस चीज को, लेकिन वो भरोसा करें तो किस पर करें? मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूं कि आप कैलाश सत्यार्थी पर भरोसा करिए, मैं कह रहा हूं अपने आप पर भरोसा करिए। मैं कह रहा हूं कि अपने साथी पर भरोसा करिए, अपने जैसे दूसरे नौजवान पर, किशोर पर, बच्चे पर भरोसा करिए और जुड़िए। We cannot solve this problem or any other problem without building a strong movement of young people. 100 million young people are looking for change and they wanted to take action. On the other hand, 100 million or more children are facing multiple problems. Their education is denied, their freedom is denied, their childhood is denied, their dignity as human being is denied, all their rights are denied. Who are those children? Who are manufacturing shoes in the supply chain and brands for young people like you? Who are those children who are making clothes and garments which you are using? I've come across many young people in India, in Pakistan, in many other places. They were stitching footballs, but they could not dream to play with those footballs. They could not think that they can play with them. I've met, and my colleagues, my organization have rescued number of children in Africa, in Ivory Coast and Ghana, who have scars and bruises and injuries on whole their body because they were working in cocoa fields. And as you know, cocoa is the core ingredient of chocolate. But when I asked many of those young people, 14, 15, 16-year-old, my dear children, how do you like chocolate? I tell you, dear friends, none of them have ever seen chocolate. They have never tasted chocolate. They have no idea, taste of chocolate. And they are producing chocolate, and chocolate industry is more than $1 billion industry. $100 billion industry, sorry, $100 billion industry. So, 100 million young people who are in better conditions, जो अच्छी हालत में हैं, स्कूलों में हैं, कॉलेजेस में हैं, यूनिवर्सिटीज में हैं, और भी कुछ काम धंधों में लगे हुए लोग हैं, वो उन 10 करोड़ लोगों के साथ मिलकर एक नई दुनिया की रचना करें. When we have launched this campaign at Rashtrapati Bhavan in India, President's House in India, there were almost 24 Nobel laureates and hundreds of leaders from all walks of life and thousands of young people, students and youth joined this launch. Then I said that today we are igniting a spark that is going to determine the future of humankind. Today we are going to create a new civilization, a new culture, which is led and championed by the young people, because the youth have clean hearts, clean minds, clean dreams. They are much more compassionate and energetic. They have much more moral power than anyone else. So let us create a world where the youth are active, and they should have faith in one platform, and that platform is 100 million platform now. And when I say globalization of youth power, that means every child, every young person in India, भारत के हर एक नौजवान को ये महसूस करना चाहिए कि हम अकेले तरक्की नहीं कर सकते, हम अकेले शांति स्थापित नहीं कर सकते. दुनिया एक दूसरे से जुड़ी हुई है. The world is so interconnected. We cannot solve any problem in isolation. As the problems are interconnected, their solutions are interconnected. And some people feel, many of them say, some of them don't say, that youth are problematic. They are creating problems. They are raising questions. They are indisciplined. They are angry. I tell you, dear friends, these people are wrong. They are absolutely wrong. The truth is that youth are not the problems. Young people are the solutions. The solution lies in you. The problems are created by your previous generation, which you are inherited. And that's why I call upon you, my dear friends, to lead a new campaign which young friends, trade union leaders, teachers organizations, Nobel laureates, business houses, parliamentary unions, and many other key stakeholder groups are going to launch next year. You should lead it. And this is for fair share. As my colleagues have pointed out, that this pandemic has exposed and exacerbated and confirmed that there were a lot of injustices and inequalities, unfairness, fragility prevailed in all systems which are dealing with young people. Education is one of them. Protection is another. Healthcare is another. Freedom is another. Though we have laws and constitutions, we have international treaties and bindings, but despite all this, our young friends have not got their fair share. I will give you an example of India. मैं भारत का एक उदाहरण देता हूं. हमारे देश के बच्चों की तादाद करीब 40% है, यंग पीपल की तादाद, और 40% आबादी के ऊपर सिर्फ 3.5% से कम पैसा खर्च करती है हमारी सरकारें. और ये सरकार नहीं, इससे पहले वाली सरकार, कोई ज्यादा फर्क नहीं हुआ है. And that 3.5% is being spent on education, healthcare, and protection combined on 40% of India's young population. Is it justice? Who can justify it? Is it moral? Is it fair? Similarly, when we are talking about $8 trillion have been allocated for bailing out companies, industries, businesses in this COVID-19 fund, COVID-19 response fund. Only 0.13% has been allocated through the multilateral mechanisms to the marginalized children and their families in low-income countries. Is it fair? No. And that's why I'm so proud, I'm rather overwhelmed to see that young friends from Africa, Latin America, Europe, Asia, Americas, from everywhere, they stood up and gave a call, fair share for children. And we, the Nobel laureates, are with you, behind you. And we wanted to see that you lead this fair share campaign. We are demanding 20% of COVID-19 related response fund for 20% marginalized children in the world. We are also demanding that not only in this, but also in the national budgets, in the ODA funding, in all multilateral funding support, this fair share principle should be adhered to, should be respected. 20% धनराशि 20% समाज के सबसे पिछड़े, दबे, कुचले, दयनीय बच्चों पर, किशोरों पर, नौजवानों पर खर्च होनी चाहिए। ये मांग हम लोग करके आंदोलन खड़ा कर रहे हैं। और ये सिर्फ एक आर्थिक मांग नहीं है, हम कह रहे हैं कानूनों में भी इसी तरह की चीज होना चाहिए। There should be fair share for in policies and implementation of policies. So fair share is a principle of justice. It's a principle of fighting inequalities which have been prevailing in our society. सैकड़ों साल से, शायद हजारों साल से ये अन्याय हो रहा है कि हमारे बच्चों को, हमारे नौजवानों को उनका पूरा जो उचित भाग है, फेयर शेयर है, वो नहीं मिल रहा है। और ये लड़ाई अब लड़नी पड़ेगी। हम लड़ाई लड़ने की जब बात करते हैं तो मैं हमेशा कहता हूं, यूथ, बी एंग्री, be compassionate. Combine these two forces of anger and compassion, so that the anger, which is a strong power, which has a strong energy, inbuilt energy, anger is an energy that should not go waste into violence and fights and revenge and hatred and destruction. Not at all. This would be the wastage of the great energy which you have through your anger. That anger should be converted into ideas and action. Constructive ideas, constructive action. And today is the time to be angry for fair share. आज ये मौका है कि जब हम उठकर खड़े हों और हम आवाज दें। मैं अपनी बात को समाप्त करते हुए आपको कहना चाहता हूं कि ये बात मैं किसी भाषण के आधार पर नहीं कह रहा हूं, या किसी आपके ये मत मान के चलिए जैसा कहा कि सर ऐसा कर देंगे, सर आपको कुछ प्रीच कर देंगे, ऐसा नहीं है। मैं आपका दोस्त हूं, आपका भाई हूं, और दोस्त के नाते मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि मुझे आपकी दोस्ती पर पूरा यकीन है। मैं चाहता हूं कि 100 शहरों के जो नौजवान, those 100 change makers, those 100 leaders, those 100 champions from 100 Indian cities and other friends from 100 Million Campaign from different countries are joining this webinar. They should consider me as their friend. I am saying it because I've experienced it. I called for my friends, children and young people in 1998, And we marched across 103 countries with the strong slogans coming from the survivors as well as from the school and college and university students. Almost 15 million people joined. Most of them were young people like you. And we all demanded for a new international law against child slavery, trafficking, and so on. There was no international law before that. Many of you would be surprised to learn, but it's a reality. But the power of young people, the moral power of young people, the loudest voices of young people were heard across the world. 71 president, prime ministers, kings and queens not only supported but joined the campaign. And when this huge support were galvanized, and the march reached in the United Nations building during the ILO's annual convention, annual General Assembly, our young friends demanded that we want education. No more tools in tiny hands. We want books. We want toys. From the dais, my young friends and I challenged the world leaders in 1998. And we said that world is not so poor that cannot take away the guns and tools from the tiny hands of young people and replace them with books, pencils and toys, sporting goods. Nobody could say no to it. And a law has been enacted. And that law has yielded the results. That time, the number of child laborers in the world was almost 250 to 260 million, say 250 million. That has gone down to 150 million just before pandemic. This was the power of young people. We have launched the worldwide campaign for education. Owen James, my friend, my brother, and who is the leader of this new campaign, 100 million campaign, Owen knows that when we jointly called for increased funding and we launched a campaign which was the largest single mobilization for education, and that was one goal campaign, one goal education. That was one of the Millennium Development Goals. And that has resulted in the drop, in the decrease of out-of-school children from almost 130 million to half, almost 60 million by now. That was the power of young people. These are the living examples. They are the proofs. So, friends, I am quite sure, I'm confident that though this spark is beginning, but this is beginning not only in one place, but in 100 cities and many more cities in India. It has already begun in more than 35 countries across the world through 100 million campaign. And when we are going to launch this fair share, this cumulative power, the cumulative light, the cumulative energy and fire of young people is going to shape a new world where every child is free, every child is safe, every child is educated, and every child gets her fair share. So, dear friends, I call upon you to march from exploitation to education. March from cruelty to compassion. March from injustice to justice. And let us march from darkness to light. Dear friends, let us march from untruth and unreality into reality. Let us march from mortality to divinity. हमारे यहाँ कहा गया है असतो मां सद्गमय तमसो मां ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मां अमृतम गमय. हमारे ऋषियों ने कहा है उत्तिष्ठ जागृत प्राप्त वरान्य बोधत. Get up, march, and achieve the goal. This was the message from Upanishads, and that is the message not for those who are already engaged in one other form of exploitation and injustice. This is the message for you, you, and you, and you. And then, if you allow me, if you are joining this 100 million campaign or already joined, and you are going to join, not only join, but lead the Fair Share campaign next year, then raise your hands. I wanted to see your beautiful, small, smart, and energetic, powerful faces, enlightened faces with your raised hands. 100 million for 100 million, 100 million campaign. Fair Share for children. Can you raise your hands? When I can't see your raised hands. You have raised and won many battles and led many campaigns. So I can see raised hands of almost everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. A lot of people are raising their hands on Zoom also. They are raising their hands here saying
Aparna, where is your newly wed husband to raise his hand?
Sir, I am in a room doing this so that nobody comes in.
So I will call upon every one of you to engage your wife or husband, or especially in case of girlfriends and boyfriends. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I've really had this privilege and opportunity to travel with sir, where sir have mentioned in many platforms that 3D formula, the 3Ds that you should always remember. The D, dream, and not dream for yourself, but for others, but for the country. The second D is discover. Sir has in his conversation many a times has mentioned that how you can lead the campaign from wherever you are, discover your full potential, and the third D is do. And the slogan, the campaign's objective, the mission, it says do your bit for children, act now, and you have to lead the campaign. Thank you so much, sir. It was really inspirational to listen to you, listen to your experiences, your example of different marches that you have led with so many of young people who I can see in my screen have raised their hands. They're saying, yes, wonderful 3D. We are really thankful that we have been able to be part of this amazing campaign, youth-led campaign who have joined us from 100 cities, and we will grow more. We will grow more next year. We will be there. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining. We have many comments coming in saying that we will be there with you. Thank you so much. I would now like to call Sumit Prakash, who's also one of the volunteer who has worked with us and is now leading and is part of the Mukti Caravan campaign and is the district in charge. Sumit, if you can give vote of thanks. Sumit will do it in Hindi and I will translate that in English. Sumit.
फ्रीडम वीक के तत्वाधान में 100 मिलियन युवाओं के जज्बे का जश्न मनाने के लिए आयोजित इस वर्चुअल समारोह में हमें धन्यवाद ज्ञापन का अवसर प्रदान करने हेतु 100 मिलियन टीम एवं कैलाश सत्यार्थी चिल्ड्रन फाउंडेशन के प्रति आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। मैं सुमित प्रकाश 100 मिलियन यूथ एक्टिविस्ट पूर्णिया बिहार भारत का निवासी हूँ। वर्तमान में मैं बिहार एंटी ट्रैफिकिंग का जिला कोऑर्डिनेटर हूँ। 100 मिलियन अभियान भारत की ओर से 100 सिटीज के उन सभी मोटिवेशनल पीपल, यूथ एम्बेसडर, दुनिया भर के यूथ वॉलंटियर, सर्वाइवर लीडर, कैंपेनर के प्रति मैं आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। साथ ही मैं आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूं शैक्षणिक संस्थानों और वैसे सभी स्टूडेंट यूनियन लीडरों को जिन्होंने हर बच्चे, हर समुदाय, हर शहर, हर गांव में अपनी एक्टिविटी से मार्जिनलाइज्ड बच्चों की सुरक्षा तथा बाल श्रम पर रोक लगाने के लिए उनके अधिकारों के लिए आवाज उठाएं, जिनमें प्रमुख रूप से कुछ लीडर हमारे साथ आज जुड़े भी। उनमें प्रमुख रूप से 100 मिलियन के ट्रस्टी, चाइल्ड राइट अधिवक्ता अमरलाल जी के प्रति भी मैं आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। अमरलाल जी एक आदर्श उदाहरण है किस तरह बाल श्रमिकों की जीवन शैली को बदलने के लिए वो प्रयास करते हैं। उनके जीवन शैली हम सब के लिए प्रेरणादायक है। और इंडिया कोऑर्डिनेटर के रूप में आज के कार्यक्रम के कुशल संचालन कर रही बड़ी दीदी अपर्णा रवि जी के प्रति भी हम आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। उन्होंने सर्वप्रथम पूरे 100 मिलियन कैंपेन की भूमिका को रखा। ये अपने आप में दर्शाता है कि उनका डेडिकेशन किस तरह का है। हम आभार व्यक्त करते हैं हमारे यूनाइटेड किंगडम से जुड़े 100 मिलियन के एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर ओविन जेम्स जी का। ओविन जेम्स ने बहुत अच्छी बात कही कि 100 मिलियन को लेकर उनका एक नया मॉडल, नया कॉन्सेप्ट को ला रहे हैं कि किस तरह से लोकल लेवल पर जो है एक पॉलिसी का निर्माण हो, ताकि बाल श्रम के खिलाफ जो वहाँ कुछ केसेस आते हैं तो लोकल जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव उन पर कार्रवाई हो। ये बहुत एक अच्छा मॉडल उन्होंने तय किया कि ये मॉडल लागू होता है तो शायद हम लोग बाल श्रम के जिस तरह से काम कर रहे हैं वो हम लोग सफल हो पाएंगे। मैं आभार व्यक्त करना चाहता हूँ अलेक्जेंड्रा सिबिल जी का। अलेक्जेंड्रा सिबिल जी।
सुमित, आप सबको एक साथ थैंक यू कर दीजिए, अब मेंशन मत कीजिए बिकॉज ऑलरेडी थोड़ा लेट चल रहे हैं। सो आई एम जस्ट हाँ, मैं सुमित तुमको तुम्हारे पास ट्रांसलेट कर रही हूँ। वी आर जस्ट एंडिंग हियर। In a nutshell, Sumit Prakash is saying thank you very much to everybody who has joined us, who stayed with us for 1.5 hours, who have joined us from different cities. I can see a lot of young people smiling again, really inspired by the conversation that we had with Sir, and a lot of the voices that we heard who have taken action from India, from Austria, from Africa. It's a great coming together of so many young people, passionate young people, youth activists who have come together to share just small little examples of how their action has made an impact. Their action has led to changes in their community, in their villages. So really thanking you all once again. सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जैसे सुमित भी बार बार बोल रहे हैं, सबका आभार व्यक्त कर रहे हैं। So thank you everyone, and we will definitely write back to you, write to all the messages here. I hope anybody who wants to know more about how can they sign up, how can they become part of the 100 million campaign, they can log on to www.100million.org. That's the website, and it's there on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Any closing remarks, Owen, that you want to add? Else we will just close the session here.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for letting me, for joining you all, and I'm really excited to hear what comes next. Good luck.
Yes. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll close the session here.